Do all or most people cheat on their significant other and still love them? Someone told me that everyone is unfaithful and that everybody lies. I found that hard to believe, so what's the verdict? Story 1. People who say, everyone cheats, is admitting that they themselves cheat and can't imagine other people would be different. Reply. Also, they're sort of trying to lessen the guilt by assuming everyone else cheats. Reply 2. Big eye roll from me on this one. No one knows what everybody else does or does not do. It seems like guys make these inaccurate BS statements all the time. I've been married for 16 years and have never thought about cheating. Sure, I notice beautiful women, but pursuing an affair has never even been a thought. I've had 2 opportunities, while married, where a woman pursed me, knowing I'm married. I used them as a joke to my wife about what a catch I am, and told her about it. Not everybody cheats, many people do not. Reply 3. Not always. When I was young and stupid, I cheated on my boyfriend. I also realized it meant that something was terribly wrong with our relationship if I did something like that and broke up with him. The guy that first dated after him, as a rebound, got way more serious about our relationship than I was, and, again, I cheated. I also immediately broke up with him as well. In both instances, while neither of us were perfect, the biggest problem was how I chose to handle the problems in our relationships. I have never cheated on anyone ever again. My so and I have been together for 22 years. Our relationship isn't perfect, no one's is, but I don't treat it like garbage like I did the first 2. I genuinely feel terrible for cheating on the first guy. He never knew and I never told him. I didn't want to add that pain on top of me breaking it off. We were headed for a breakup at that point anyway, and I didn't see the point in making things worse. The second guy, I told him it wasn't serious for me when we started dating, and he still pushed things too fast. We were together less than 3 months when he started talking forever and I freaked out. I also broke up with him immediately after cheating. After that, no more. If someone started getting weird or distant with me, I addressed it or ended it. No more cheating. I grew up and handled things like a big girl. Story 2. Married 36 years. Never cheated. Reply. Married 27 years. Never cheated, and neither has my husband. I know, because we live and work together. We're never apart long enough to get a chance to cheat on each other, but that's not why we've never done it, at least, not for me. Reply 2. I've only been married for 4 years, but I understand this sentiment. Both my wife and I are remote workers, so while we obviously don't spend every single second together, it's made our lives so intertwined that if she were gone, I'd feel like a quadruple amputee. Combine that with our 5-month-old, and I just can't understand how people find the time to cheat, meet people with whom to cheat, etc. That's not to say either one of us would cheat if we weren't working remotely. We both went into the office every day before COVID, but our interests outside of work are also so aligned that we do almost everything together. And if one of us wants to do something alone, working out, seeing a band the other doesn't like, etc., there has never been any suspicion of anything untoward occurring. Of course, in that regard, I can only speak for myself, but my wife is one of the most straightforward, does not fuck around if something is bothersome people I know, so I'm pretty sure she'd flat out tell me if she thought I was up to no good. Anyway, this comment has caused me to reflect on previous relationships I've had. My wife and I didn't get married until our mid-30s, and neither of us had been married before, and I think we 100% benefited from marrying late. As some would call it, B.C. We both had a more realistic and mature perspective for what we were looking in a partner. We're still young-ish, and people change as they age, but as I mentioned previously, I'd feel completely incapacitated in life if my wife wasn't around. So there's no way in hell I am going to fuck that up for some strange. Edit. In addition to all of that, I'm a textbook introvert, so I generally can't stand people longer than social obligations require. I cannot imagine the immense pain in the ass it would be to strike up an affair and manage that while married. If I did that, I wouldn't have time for all my impotent Reddit comments. Story 3. I've been cheated on several times, but I've never cheated myself. I don't think I could live with myself. I've never understood why people cheat most of the time honestly. If you're that unhappy, leave. Reply. They cheat because they are selfish and aren't a good person. A good person who has empathy, morals and integrity doesn't purposely cause severe emotional trauma to someone they claim to love. Cheating is extremely abusive behavior, and as a society it should have massive consequence. Reply 2. Some people just do not have the mental, or spiritual, or conscious capacity to comprehend what you've just said. They can be very forthcoming with advice to others in relationship matters, yet have no problem in doing the opposite in their own relationships. They know what's right and what's wrong, but they truly don't care. They have a standard for all but themselves, no moral compass of their own. It's a shit mix of narcissism, hedonism, and hypocrisy. They don't care because they can't. Story 4. As apparently the only person here who has cheated on their partner, it's really complicated. I regret it a lot and absolutely do not ever condone the act or think it should be or could be justified. I did and still do struggle with lack of empathy, being diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, BPD, and bipolar 2. Like others have said, I think either way it shows that there are obviously huge issues in the relationship, often with both parties involved, that aren't being addressed. I really wish I would have just cut the relationship off to avoid hurting anyone, but I did. Now I just don't talk to anyone because I'm afraid of putting someone else through that again. Reply. I was cheated on by a partner who sounds similar to you, and that was what finally killed our relationship. The relationship had problems and I knew that my partner was not very good at communicating emotions or having hard discussions. In hindsight, I can understand how she didn't want to be in the relationship anymore, but couldn't tell me. As things unraveled, I know that she had huge internal conflict because on some level she cared about me while also being resentful and cheating on me. So yeah, at least in some cases, it isn't always as black and white as a lot of folks here make it out to be. I hope that you are able to seek some professional help and can try to build a healthy, intimate relationship in the future. Reply 2. My ex has some personality disorder. We tried to make it work, but the extreme narcissistic personality and lack of empathy as well as major mood swings on her part made it impossible. When I talk to people about it, I break down and feel embarrassed because of how bad she was and the things I let her get away with. Now looking back, it was the definition of insanity. She refused to address the problem and gaslighted everyone. Projecting is a real thing. She accused me of abuse and drugging her, and it was always her. I watched that video of the nurse poisoning her husband and so glad I got out before mine tried to kill me. She gave me a smoothie one morning and said not to share it with the kids because they already had some. Less than 30 minutes later I got extremely sick with cramps and heart palpitations. I thought I was having a panic heart attack. I'm scared of my ex and she has primary over our children. Story 5. I have a niece and coworkers who've cheated and been cheated on. All of these folks are very different in ages, careers, money, but the one thing they do have in common is marriages that were built on something other than a foundation of friendship and communication. All of them had different reasons for getting married, but none of them would have ever said they married their best friend. I think that's the first problem, but I could be wrong. To answer your question, if you love someone, the last thing you want is to cause them pain or question that love. Story 6. I'll die on the hill that if you're willing to cheat on your partner, you never loved them in the first place. Reply. Unpopular opinion, but I think human behavior is more complicated than that. Love is also a multifaceted thing. Cheating is never okay, but I don't think it means there was never love in the first place. I was cheated on by my ex, and it shattered me, and I have trust issues, but I still hold that opinion. Reply 2. Yeah, my ex was absolutely enamored with me and had brought up wanting to grow old with me despite not believing in marriage. Our relationship was really good aside from bickering every now and then. It seemed like she'd absolutely crumble if we were to split. Then she got on behavioral meds, didn't take them consistently, then starting drinking heavily. Within a couple months she started cheating on me while still maintaining the idea of growing old with me. Then she broke up with me so she could get gangbanged by her friends. I didn't know about any of this, so she just told me that she was looking to be more independent and that she still loves me like family and that I've had the most positive impact on her life than anybody she's ever known. Led me on with friendship for months despite growing colder and colder towards me. Eventually she cut contact with me after I tried figuring out why she's being the way she's being, and then I found out about all the shit she did behind my back. I felt terribly broken by it, and it's absolutely twisted my worldview. Story 7. It is incredibly hard to ever get a true dataset to answer this. People tend to see others through their own experience. Like someone who lies, suspects others of lying. Or someone who cheats, or at least has thought about doing so, suspects everyone of the same behavior. I didn't and don't and won't cheat. I lasted well over a decade in a marriage that was probably non-functional for most of it, and didn't cheat. Not for lack of opportunity. I just didn't want to hurt her because in spite of us not being good in marriage, I still cared for her and didn't want to hurt her. I have it in me to cheat just for having fun and feeling good, but I didn't and won't because the pain it would cause. And if I did, knowing she would never find out, I would still always be hiding some part of me, creating a rift between us. I don't want that. Cheating is a massive wake-up call that the state of the relationship is in desperate need of attention and repair. If I ever feel the urge to cheat, it is because a need of mine is not being met. This doesn't blame my partner, it is always both partners together that make a relationship good. And my opinion about your question: I do not think most people cheat. But I do sometimes suspect more have done so than I have any awareness of. Because I don't know anyone who has. Not personally, at least. Story 8. My husband cheated on me throughout our 20-year relationship. I knew he loved me and did everything he could to protect me from knowing. It hurt me to know that he was unable to remain faithful, but I was raising the children and working. I had a full life. After 18 years, he brought one of his women to his daughter's home. I was done. I still couldn't leave due to circumstances beyond our control, so I waited for the right time, then he died. I didn't cry when he died. After 20 years I had taken all I could. Yes, he loved me, but he didn't honor me. Story 9. My wife doesn't want to have sex while she's pregnant. Doesn't matter if it's third trimester or one day after a positive pregnancy test. She just doesn't want to do it when she's growing a baby. I think it's a bit weird, but I don't push back. That's 9 months without sex, minimum. But you're also supposed to wait a month or two after birth before getting busy again. So that's almost a year of celibacy per child, and we had 2 back-to-back. In the span of 2 years, we must have done it only 4 to 5 times. Not once in those 2 years did I even think about cheating. Now we're back to doing it like rabbits, though we're done with having kids now, and our relationship has never been stronger. When you actually, truly love someone, you prioritize your commitment to them over your sex drive. It's not easy, but it also isn't that hard. Anyone who says, everyone cheats, is ashamed of their weakness and deals with their shame by imagining that everyone is just as weak as they are. Reply: hell yeah. Story 10. Not everyone is unfaithful and not everyone lies. Yes, we tell little lies, like trying to not let her know what came in the mail that I got her for Xmas. Also, some will say they still loved their SO even though they cheated. I for one find that to be a laughably bad statement. They might still have a little love, but clearly not much. Nor do they respect their SO, or their relationship. Affairs are a lot of lies, over and over again, so when one hears, I made a mistake, that should be tossed out the window. And yes, once a cheater, always a cheater. Unless they get counseling to fix their shit. Otherwise it's a safe bet they'll do it again. And by th way father, there are cheating apologists that come around and will try and tell us that sometimes there is a legitimate reason to cheat. There is not. Subscribe now.